The owners are mad at Kevin Durant again, bro. To be fair, they're always pretending to be mad about something because it's just like a good bargaining position to be frustrated. But I think they're actually frustrated this time, just like they were back in 2016. Back then, that feeling came from the thought that the Thunder were left out to dry after developing Kevin Durant after all those years, and he just leaves to the Golden State Warriors. And now in 2022, it's for wanting to get traded from the Nets as they implode, even though he has 4 years left on his current contract. How dare he? While completely different situations, the frustration from the owners is the same. No matter how we rig the system, we can't control players. At least not players this good. By the way, if you enjoyed this video or any other video I do, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I'm going to attempt to stream on YouTube most days at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to hang out and just talk basketball or whatever, I'm there. Okay, back to KD and how he changed the league. I'm not going to pretend that those KD years in Golden State were terribly exciting for me as an NBA fan, especially since my Heat were among the teams he was considering before he ultimately picked the Warriors. But he did everything the quote-unquote right way. Restricted free agency is a scam as presently constituted because it artificially drives down salaries for a lot of players. But he quietly signed his extension for an extra 5 seasons the same summer LeBron left Cleveland. He gave the franchise 9 years and the city 8. 9 seasons they only got because the lottery gods blessed them. Personally, I don't think a draft should determine where a player is going to spend the first half of the career, but that's a different video, and that's the system, and KD dealt with it and firmly cemented himself as one of the best 2 players on the planet. If not for some bad injury luck, they might have won the Larry O'Brien trophy in one of those years. Either way, he played out the contract with no hints he was going to leave, never agitated for a trade, and after a heartbreaking loss to the Warriors after they blew a 3-1 series lead, he became a free agent and joined the Warriors, who ironically had just blown a 3-1 lead themselves in the following round. There's the context about the massive cap spike, giving a lot of teams cap space to sign free agents who normally wouldn't have, but suffice to say, KD looked around during unrestricted free agency and saw that the team that had the best chance to win games and championships without having to take a significant pay cut was those very same Warriors. An extremely rational choice when you look at it in black and white. For those that watch soccer, specifically like European high-level soccer, it's a pretty straightforward situation. Player makes it in the big leagues, and if they play well, they join one of the big powerhouses because they'll pay more, which is not really relevant in this situation, but also they give you the best chance to compete for trophies, which is extremely relevant in this situation. For many reasons, American sports culture is different, so the backlash from the fans made sense. What made no sense was the owners and their outrage. Durant broke no rules and chose the option that would make his on-court job the easiest and provide the easiest path to the most success. Of course, the outrage from the owners had nothing to do with KD cheating the game or taking the easy way out or any other cliche you want to use. It was exclusively because in that moment, Kevin showed the owners just how much power he and players at his level have. LeBron did the same thing when he went back to Cleveland and kept signing short-term contracts, essentially threatening the Cavs that if they ever stopped spending money, he would leave. The NBA responded after KD joined Golden State by expanding the rules around extensions, making them easier and more accessible to more players, and adding the Supermax as a contract option for select players who reach certain thresholds. More extensions would provide difficult choices for players because instead of having to wait for free agency and having their choice of team, they could sign sometimes years before free agency, securing even more long-term money sooner and reducing the risk of an injury or below average season costing them millions. The same thing happens to be relevant to Kevin Durant on the Nets. After 2 seasons in Brooklyn, one in which he didn't play while recovering from an Achilles tear, and one in which he barely lost to the eventual champion Bucks because James Harden and Kyrie Irving couldn't be healthy, they offered him an extension. KD still had 1 more season plus a player option left. The extension would void the player option, meaning he would have 1 more year on the original contract, and then the new one would kick in for 4 years and $198 million. 1 year later, and the Nets are an embarrassing poop show with James Harden in Philly and Kyrie Irving having permission to look for a trade only to find out that there are no takers. So Durant is about to start this 4-year, $198 million portion of his contract only to realize that Brooklyn might not be the best chance to win more rings. Part of the reason I mentioned soccer before was because how much the NBA is starting to resemble European soccer in terms of player movement. In Europe, if you want to purchase a soccer player who still has at least 1 year left on their contract, you negotiate a transfer fee with the player's current team as recompense for the loss of said player. There are many different factors to help teams negotiate and come up with a fair transfer fee. One of these factors is how many years they have remaining on their contract. The more years they have left, the more expensive it will be to release them from their contract, meaning the selling team makes more money for having signed a good player to a long contract. Highly in-demand soccer players rarely reach free agency because they can just sign extensions, and if they want to leave, they can be purchased for a fee at a high enough number so their current team is incentivized to make the move even if they would rather have the player instead of the money. Anyways, NBA stars are realizing there's less value in getting to unrestricted free agency if they can reduce risk and sign the crazy big contract earlier and just ask for a trade if and when they're ready to go. Just like in soccer, whether a team likes it or not, if a future Hall of Famer wants to leave, you're better off trading him for the motherload of assets than keeping someone disgruntled around who might not play up to their standards and ruin your season. We just need teams to understand that a contract agreement with a star player isn't a guarantee they'll play out the contract. It's only a guarantee that if the player is still a star when they want to leave, you get a fair return for them. And that's the point. Kevin waited out his contract and went to the Warriors, leaving the Thunder with nothing, and the owners got mad. No picks, no young players, no nothing. So the rules changed to incentivize guys to sign extensions. But KD decides he doesn't want to play the remaining years of his great career on a sinking ship. And that brings us to today, with the owners saying this is their current cause of concern. Players agreeing to long-term contracts and then asking to get traded with 3+ years left on it. Of course, teams are more than capable of signing players to long-term contracts and trading them whenever they feel like it. But players displaying the same amount of power makes them feel uncomfortable for whatever reason. Anyways, Kevin Durant forcing changes in the rules has actually made the league much safer for teams. Because as I mentioned earlier, if not for the extension rules, he would have almost certainly been a free agent on July 1st of this year, meaning that he would have left the Nets for nothing, just like the Thunder 6 years ago. Instead, the Nets are still going to lose him, but at least now they can search for their Rudy Gobert package, their Anthony Davis package, or their Kawhi Leonard package. Personally, I think this is just about the perfect balance for the league. Teams have more warning now because either the player has to ask for a trade or they're going to turn down a bunch of extensions a year or two before free agency, signifying to the league that it might be time to move on. So I'd like to take this moment to speak on behalf of the owners. Kevin, because of what you did in 2016, we had to build a system so no matter how incompetent we are, we always have a way out. So, thank you, Kevin Durant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's enough for me. Like and subscribe. Watch me play scary games on this channel at 5 p.m. Eastern most days. And bye-bye.